All right, well, thanks for coming today. Our press conference today will be regarding a significant fentanyl drug seizure that occurred in Clay County last evening. And the importance of this is the fact that this has been the third large fentanyl seizure in the last month or so. Chief Shannon Monroe will be discussing the significance of this bust along with how it's affecting our community, and Sheriff Emting will be discussing the details of the traffic stop and the events that occurred last evening. And then after they've given their statements, they'll be open for questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here today and covering some significant arrests that occurred early this morning. It's another case that highlights the importance of our working relationships across the law enforcement community in our metro area. This case began with Moorhead Police detectives working together with Clay County Sheriff's Office, the Minnesota State Patrol, Cass County Drug Task Force, and the Drug Enforcement Administration Fargo office. Detectives had obtained specific information showing the suspects were frequently traveling to the Minneapolis area to pick up shipments of narcotics. At about 2:05 a.m. this morning, two vehicles attempted to be stopped on I-94 in Clay County. Those vehicles fled, but later were stopped, and I'll have Sheriff Emting give you the details of that in just a minute. Seized in the traffic stops were 1,091 suspected fentanyl pills and approximately 20 grams of suspected methamphetamine, with a street value estimated at approximately $37,000. This is the largest seizure to date of suspected fentanyl in Clay County. Subsequently, one of the two vehicles in the case was also discovered to be stolen. Arrested were Larry McClendon for felony first-degree controlled substance, conspiracy to sell, felony fleeing in a motor vehicle, and driving after cancellation inimical to public safety. Also was Raphael Murphy for felony first-degree controlled substance and fifth-degree controlled substance, conspiracy to sell, along with felon in possession of ammunition. And lastly was Cameron Desjarlais for first-degree and fifth-degree controlled substance, conspiracy to sell, felony fleeing in a motor vehicle, and 4 Cass County, North Dakota active drug warrants. This marks the third seizure in Clay County along I-94 in just the last 2 months. On March 18th, 50 grams of powdered fentanyl were seized with the street value estimated around $15,000. And on April 12th, 222 fentanyl pills and 2 pounds of methamphetamine were seized with an estimated street value of around $20,000. Street drugs containing fentanyl have been the primary cause of the significant increase in overdoses in our metro area. We've seen the number of known overdoses increasing significantly from year to year. In 2019, just the Moorhead Police Department responded to 5 overdoses and 2 deaths. Last year, we responded to 63 overdoses and 8 deaths. So far, through only, not even quite 4 months of this year, we've responded to 12 overdoses and 2 deaths. Now, I stated known overdoses, as many of them go unreported due to the police not being called in some of these cases and people being treated by bystanders. So it's not a complete picture of just how significant the drug problem is in our community. However, I think these recent cases illustrate just how much fentanyl and other illicit narcotics are coming into the area that destroy lives and have significant negative impacts on families and our community as a whole. So at this point, I'll have Sheriff Emting step up and describe what happened with the traffic stops. So, Sheriff, you want to come up?
Thank you, Chief Monroe, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. Early this morning at about 2:05, as Chief Monroe mentioned, 2 Clay County deputies attempted to conduct a traffic stop on 2 suspect vehicles near I-94, near milepost 21, which is just west of Barnesville. At that time, one of the vehicles fled from that location at a high rate of speed, at which time a deputy began a pursuit of that vehicle. That vehicle is a white Honda, which was the reported stolen vehicle. The other vehicle, a tan Buick, initially pulled over for the second deputy, but then fled the stop location. The deputy then initiated another pursuit on the vehicle, and after a short pursuit, the vehicle pulled over again, at which time the deputies and other officers began giving verbal commands to the occupants. The driver initially complied, but then took off from the stop location again. The deputy gave pursuit to the vehicle again and also conducted a pit maneuver, which is a pursuit intervention tactic, which brought the vehicle to a successful stop. At this time, the deputy, along with 2 Moorhead detectives and a DEA task force officer, took Cameron Desjardins and Raphael Murphy into custody without incident. A deputy was still in pursuit of the first vehicle that fled from the stop location. This pursuit reached speeds of 120 miles per hour before other deputies and a Minnesota State Trooper were able to successfully deploy stop sticks, which is a tire deflation device, to get attempt to flatten the tires. The driver continued for a short time before losing a tire off the vehicle. The driver then pulled over and was taken into custody without incident by 5 deputies and the Minnesota Trooper. This driver was identified as Larry McClendon. This is the first time that I can recall having an incident where we had 2 pursuits occur at the same time. I would like to thank everyone for their work on this case and successful outcome in the interest of our community's safety. This is another great example of how agencies from Minnesota and North Dakota work together for the safety of our 2 communities. Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions for us, we'll answer what we can, but understand there is some portions of this that are still under investigation, so there may be some things we aren't able to answer at this time, but does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Where are they being held in custody at this time?
The Clay County Correctional Facility across the road here.
Are you guys seeing more issues with fentanyl? I know back in like 2014, 2015, we really saw an uptick in this area of fentanyl. Then it seemed like it kind of went quiet for a little bit. Now it seems like we're hearing more. We just saw that big bust at East Grand Forks earlier this week. Are you guys seeing a lot more fentanyl, and is there anything that you can do, the community can do, to help kind of bite this problem in the butt?
We're seeing quite a bit more coming in here. A lot of it seems to be coming from the Minneapolis area. Really, we rely on our community members to, phone in, tip information. If you see something suspicious, call us, and we might already have something going on, and information that's provided might be helpful to those cases, or it might be something that we're not currently aware of. Our biggest fear with this is the level of lethality that comes with fentanyl. Not every single pill is coming with the same dose in it, and that's why people tend to make these errors and cause the overdoses, because one batch might be different than the next. So one of the positive things out of having Narcan out in the community is we've seen the deaths level off, currently at least, compared to just a few years ago when that stuff wasn't available. So the number of overdoses is going up, but the deaths are kind of plateauing. But still, you could have kids or other people get into it and have overdose situations, and it's just something we do not want to have in our community, obviously.
Are we aware how much Narcan administered to help aid the stop of these overdoses?
No, because we don't carry it. Sheriff, do you guys?
We do not carry it either.
The State Patrol does carry it, but a lot of it is stuff that's given out for free in the community, and we have no idea how much is being used. Yes, sir.
When the fentanyl problem first popped up, I think one of the ideas was people just didn't understand how inconsistent the drug was, and maybe they weren't aware of the danger. I think people are aware of the danger now, but they're still using.
Yes, and we do also find where they may think they're taking one kind of drug, and it turns out it's laced with fentanyl, and they weren't aware of that. And that's just part of those dangers of getting, illicit narcotics that are coming from labs that come from other countries like China or Mexico. And you know, it's not pharmaceutical things that have any kind of regulation to it, so it is very dangerous.
When you have a seizure of this size, I mean, does it kind of paint a picture for you of maybe the type of demand for this in this area? And you want to talk about that a little bit?
With a seizure of this size, you know, the thing to keep in mind is that that's only what we're catching. We have no clue how much is getting through. Our detectives would tell you, you know, they're receiving information all the time from different sources in the amounts that are coming in, but it's when you finally get good information you can act on, and you can get onto a case like this. But you know, in my time here, we've seen it move from, you know, cocaine to methamphetamine, and it kind of seems like when you get to slow one thing down, there's demand for the next thing, and then that's where the addictions go. So the demand is there for it, and it's concerning because, you know, people are trying to raise families in our community, and we want to try and keep this out of here as best we can.
What's your message to those who are or wish to import drugs from the Twin Cities and other areas outside Fargo-Moorhead?
I'll have a piece of that, you know, in what I've covered here already, but, you know, these guys are out there working on the highway and the interstate. I'd like to invite them to come up and talk about that.
Yes, I'll let Captain Cheney refer to his agency, but our agency, we're going to be very active in the pursuit of drugs within Clay County. We will do whatever we can to ensure that these are not coming into our county. Our deputies are trained to ask the proper questions on traffic stops when they're making the stops on I-94 and things like that, to look for these types of indicators, or the type of indicators that would lead them to believe that somebody is carrying illegal narcotics in their vehicle. We also have our 2 canines within the sheriff's office that are trained to detect these types of illegal narcotics, and they will be used quite frequently as well. Let it be known to whomever is doing this type of business in our county, we will do whatever we can to ensure that you will not be in business for that long. We do not want this in our county. This is a dangerous drug. This is a drug that is taking the lives of people, and we definitely do not want it here. So we are hoping your business will be short-lived here, and you can take it elsewhere, because we don't want it here.
Yeah, I'll just echo what the sheriff and both Chief Monroe said. Obviously, our agency being a statewide agency, we have troopers across the state working with these local agencies, and specifically in Greater Minnesota. As they both talked about earlier, we have a great working relationship, not only between us that are standing in front of you, but really the troopers and the deputies and the officers and the detectives on a daily basis. So my troopers, for example, that work in this area and specifically along the interstate, work along with both the drug task forces across my district, and also just the sheriff's offices and the local agencies for that very reason. I mean, we all know our job primarily is traffic enforcement, so we're out there making a lot of stops, and specifically even now with this heat enforcement project, we're targeting speed, but it's not the only thing we're finding, and that's on a statewide level. So same thing, our troopers are trained to notice the different drug indicators, both for somebody that's transporting drugs and or money going the other way, or also drug impairment, because let's face it, people take drugs that are coming into the community and they still drive, which is a huge concern, no different than somebody driving when they've been drinking too much alcohol. Like the sheriff said, we also have specialty trained troopers with narcotics canine partners stationed all across the state of Minnesota. I have 3 in the district here, and 2 specifically work in the interstate corridor that works alongside all the agencies.
I just want to tag on to that and just say that the city of Moorhead prides itself on being a city of neighborhoods. You know, we run 80 or 90 block clubs, you know, every fall with Night to Unite. We have vibrant, good schools in Moorhead and post-secondary education that people from outside our area send their kids to. And, you know, we're all very concerned about having this dangerous drug here, and we're going to do everything we can to try and stop the flow of it coming into our area. Yes, sir.
You talked about how the Cass-Clay collaboration was critical in this instance specifically. Can you talk about how, if you didn't have that collaboration, what could have possibly happened here?
Currently, we don't have mutual aid back yet, so we don't have the physical bodies crossing over the river. We are working towards resolving that. I think we'll have that in the next few months here. So that should be coming back, but the information sharing is something that goes on daily between our patrol, between our investigators, and especially with our narcotics unit. So that information sharing is what got us onto this case, so it was critical in this particular investigation.
Apologies if this is already answered, but are you able to clarify what townships or mile markers the gentlemen were arrested near or at?
It was on near milepost 21, which is just west of Barnesville, which is the city of Barnesville. I think that would be probably Barnesville Township.
And that's where the bag of pills was found too?
That is correct, yep, at that stop location.
Were they M30 pills?
They were M30 pills, yes. I believe Captain Swenson sent a photo out of them.
All right, if there isn't any questions, that'll conclude it. And if you wanted to talk to anybody afterwards, please feel free to do so. But again, thank you very much for the coverage on this important topic today so we get information out to our residents. So thank you.
Thank you.